Hey, hey, and welcome back to Miss Kitty's Wild West Adventures. Imagine for a moment that you work on a Hollywood set. You spot a mannequin in the corner and you go to move it and find out it's something much more sinister. It's the mummified body of a notorious outlaw from the early 1900s. Who was this outlaw and how did he come to be on a movie set? Well, stay tuned to find out. Welcome back. It was 1976, and crews were on the set of The $6 Million Man at a place called Pike Amusement Park in Long Beach, California. The scene was simple. Steve Austin, our $6 Million Man, was going to be riding in a roller coaster cart around a ride called Laugh in the Dark. Imagine a very cheap version of Disneyland's Haunted Mansion with ghouls and skeletons and mummies hanging around waiting to scare you as you go through this ride. They were tidying up the set for filming when a crew member spotted a mannequin hanging by a noose, and he wasn't quite happy with the placement of the mannequin. So he went to go move it off set. Well, when he grabbed the mannequin's arm, it fell off. He looked down at the arm, now in his hand, and he saw a bone protruding from the end. They contacted the local medical examiner's office, who came and collected the body and ran multiple tests on it. And they conclusively decided that it was, in fact, a mummified human body. They also found a .32 caliber gunshot wound to the chest. So they started to investigate where the mannequin had come from and what led to it being at this amusement park. Hey, I hate to interrupt the story, but if you're liking this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and make sure you are subscribed to Miss Kitty's Wild West Adventures. In 1911, Elmer McCurdy was a very unsuccessful bank robber. In fact, the only time he had ever robbed a bank, he ended up destroying the money when he blew up the safe with nitroglycerin. So he turned his sights to train robbing. He scoped out trains in his area and decided on one which he thought contained $400,000. He rounded up a few associates, boarded the train, and looked high and low for this money. But in the end, he only found $46. Turns out, he had robbed the wrong train. So he took his $46, a watch from a passenger, and 2 barrels of whiskey and ran off to a barn to drink away his sorrows. But the law soon caught up with him. As he was sitting drinking in the barn, he decided he wasn't going to give in without a fight. So he fired upon the officers that had come to arrest him, and they fired back. Guess who was the better shot? His body was taken to the Johnson family mortuary in Pawhuska, Oklahoma, and he was embalmed with an arsenic concoction, and they awaited for his relatives to claim the body. But no one ever did. So the mortician propped him up in a coffin in the center of his mortuary and dressed him and put a rifle next to him. Not only was this a wonderful example of how good of an embalmer he was, but he also charged people 5 cents a pop just to come in and view the remains of this outlaw. This lasted for 5 years, until finally 2 shady individuals came across the mortuary and said that they were McCurdy's long-lost brothers and that they wanted to claim their brother's body for burial. Well, if this sounds suspicious, that's because it was. They weren't his brothers at all. Instead, they were carnival proprietors. For the next 50 years or so, his body toured wax museums, freak shows, carnivals, and circuses, until finally his history was all but forgotten. That is, until 1976, when he was discovered on the set of The $6 Million Man. After investigators pieced together this history, his body was sent to the Summit View Cemetery in Guthrie, Oklahoma, and allegedly buried under 2 feet of concrete so that he can finally have eternal rest. Elmer McCurdy, a failed bandit whose death was much more interesting than his short life. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Miss Kitty's Wild West Adventures. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and ding the bell for notifications. And in the meantime, I'll catch you on down the trail.